All right. Even though this feels like it's running long, we still do have one segment left, and that is ranking the Phase Four TV shows and specials. And there's I went and typed all these out, and I was like, man, that's a lot. It's actually been a lot of stuff going on in the TV space over the last 2 years. Um, so I figure we'll do like we did with ranking the movies. We'll start from the bottom and we'll work our way up to the best of them all. So, as a reminder, Ladia, what we have to choose from is Wanda, and this is in order of appearance: WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, She Hulk, Werewolf by Night, and Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. So
Well,
let's see how fast we can make this happen. So let's start at the very at the least, the one that we like the least. Um,
so this is nothing against this show, but in the grand scheme of things, it was just not as good as the other ones. So I just feel like at the bottom is She-Hulk. Nothing against it. It's just in the grand scheme of these other TV shows, I put it at the bottom.
I don't disagree with you. I thought about this one too, and I was like, I really like this show, but it was more it was more up and down than the other ones were. Um, one or two fewer episodes, a little tighter writing. I think it could have been much higher than this, but yeah, I think She Hulk is down there at the last place. So if so, what's the next least good? And I'm not saying worse because I want to say I liked every one of these things. Call me a Marvel shield or whatever you want to call it. I liked every one of these things. Just some not as much as others.
Uh,
Um,
uh, my
so
next one. I know what two, but I don't know which one I will put there. I want to say, well, me personally, I think the next one that I will put is Miss Marvel. And the only reason why I put it over the other one that's gonna, I feel like it will be next. Well, I'll tell you my next two. It'll be Miss Marvel and Hawkeye. The only reason why I put a Hawkeye above Miss Marvel because you know how much I love that actress. You already know, like I
yeah,
love her.
yeah, Florence
Yeah,
Pugh.
yeah. So that is really, but when it comes to the grand scheme of the shows that came out, I feel like those two the are what I will put like this second and third to last.
I'm gonna go ahead and say Hawkeye next because even though again I really like the show, it didn't do a lot.
Yeah, it didn't.
Besides more or less setting up a couple of it set up Thunderbolts mostly, and it set up Daredevil pretty much. That's and it set up Echo, but as far as the story it was actually telling, it was fun. Wasn't extremely important. So I'm gonna say Hawkeye is the next to last one as a compromise between us. I don't agree with you at all about Miss Marvel. I'm just gonna say straight up, I don't agree about that at all. But in deference to you, for yours, it's gonna be Miss Marvel third to last. But for me, that's not where my third to last one is. Um, I would say that's going much further up for me. Probably for me after that, I'm gonna say Moon Knight for the third for me. Um, and it's only because I will say this: I think Moon Knight's great, except the ending. Except the ending. The ending of it
I
was ridiculously like it was so by the numbers and like did a disservice to the rest of the show that I just like I have to drop it down that low just because of that ending.
Yeah, Moon Knight is higher for me, but I do completely agree that the the final two, I feel like Moon Knight needed an extra episode. I feel like it. We were just talking about She-Hulk needed to be cut down. Moon Knight needed an extra episode. Like I feel like they just rushed the end, and then it was just so like, why did you do a kaiju fight?
Yeah, it was just silly to me.
It was
It,
yeah,
it
it
and it
just
did a disservice to what the rest of the show was doing. Really cool things, really
yeah, it's
interesting
just
things, and it just like sort of dropped the ball. And that's actually, to me, that's sort of a theme amongst the shows, is
the
that
Marvel TV
sort
shows.
of sort
Yeah,
of dropping the ball at the very end. Um, unfortunately. Um, so I said, yeah, Moon Knight for me for third from the bottom. Miss Marvel for you. Um, I'm going to say right after that, this is a toss up for me between the Guardians Holiday Special and What If. And again, nothing against either of them. It's mostly because for me,
ooh,
I'll say the Guardians one, and it's mostly because it's a throwaway story. It's good, it's fun, it's interesting. It's kind of a throwaway story that doesn't do much. I mean, it maybe sets up Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Volume 3 a bit, but only just so. Um, it's very much a throwaway story. Um, and like I said, What If is kind of in the middle for me. And it's not because I don't like it or anything like that. It's really because it's somewhat disconnected from the MCU proper. It's like we're getting to see things that didn't work out the way they are, and because we're in the multiverse saga right now, it's cool and interesting. And they even managed to make like the finale really awesome. But the fact that it's disconnected is part of the reason why, and because it's an anthology, so some of the stories are less good than others. There are some really great MCU stories in there, and there's some really whatever MCU stories in there. And it's kind of so the fact that it's uneven because of it, it's an anthology that doesn't help from in my eye. Where would you put it?
you sure you want to know?
You gonna put it at number one?
Yes, it was number one. I loved What If. I do agree. The final episode, in my opinion, they nerfed the hell out of. They turned it into a pew pew match, which I didn't care for that much. But every other episode leading up to that was just so fucking good for me. Like it scratched an itch. Like I've been having this conversation with my friend who's a super anime buff. Like he thinks anime can't do wrong. And I'm trying to tell him that American animation is coming for anime's throat, and he doesn't want to believe me. And What If is one of those shows that I'm just like, guys, I'll just be honest. I rather watch shows like Invincible, um Vox Machina, Arcane, and What If than a lot of the anime that's out right now. And What If is, like I said, there's this animation scratch itch that I've haven't had scratched in a while, and it did it for me, and I loved it. Just like I said, the final episode, I wish they would have, because here what makes the final episode, in my opinion, not that good, because you showed it. It's not like it was up to our imagination of what's I mean not Vision, Ultron will do with the six Infinity Stones. You literally showed it the episode prior. So why did you nerf him the next episode?
Right.
It
Yeah.
just ugh.
It was, but I think it's a fun. I love that they're doing a second season of it. I like it's totally
Yeah.
deserved. I think people slept on it. I still think it's probably like around the middle of phase 4 TV shows.
Yeah.
Above that one, let's see. So we got leftover. So for me, What If's there? It's at the top for you. So we still got.
I will put so for where I will put where What If should have been, I will put probably I'll probably put Werewolf by Night. Werewolf by Night was like the middle for me.
Yeah, for Werewolf by Night for the next one. And the thing is, I'm gonna say that for me, it's around the same place. Like I was gonna say Werewolf by Night next. Um, the bottom is She-Hulk, then Hawkeye, then for me it's Moon Knight, Guardians special, What If, and then Werewolf by Night. But you would do She-Hulk, Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, the Guardians special, and then Werewolf by Night. So what would you do above Werewolf by Night?
I will do I probably
So for you,
I
you
think I think I'll do WandaVision. I think I'll do WandaVision over that. Yes.
over Werewolf by Night.
Yes.
And I'm putting that further up for me. So we'll get back to that when we get up there. So after WandaVision, and for me it's Werewolf by Night. What's the next one? Would you say?
I'll say right where it's at. I'll put Moon Knight. Moon Knight is right where I believe this where it should be. Like it loved Moon Knight so much. But that final episode just it disappointed me so much. It could have been number one, man. It
Right.
took so much. Like the final episode, I forgot about it until you mentioned it. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot how cringy the final episode was.
Yeah. It still sticks with me.
It's just cheat. It completely I wiped it from my brain. Completely wiped it.
Um, for me, at this point, because now we're in the top four basically. And you've already said your number one is What If. For me, I think Falcon and Winter Soldiers at this spot. Um,
Hmm.
I and only just so. It's only just so. I think it did some things more interestingly than Loki did, but I think Loki is such a crazy, far, reaching story, and it did so much that I have to put it above. So for me, it's Falcon and Winter Soldier. Um, so where would you put? So now we're into the top uh, four, I guess you'd say, or because you already put WandaVision down. Yeah, we're in the top three now. So what are your top three? What's your number three one?
My number three is Falcon and Winter Soldier.
I not surprised by that. I think we're fairly close, and I think we've only kind of switched them around only slightly. Um, even though
Yeah, I love
you put WandaVision further down than I would have, but
I love Falcon and the Winter Soldier, man. It's something that I think Marvel needs to get back to. Doing more grounded stuff. I really think that's like something that Marvel really needs to start getting back to
mhm,
because like they hit it out the park with their grounded movies with Captain America, Captain America Winter Soldier and Civil War. I really think Marvel needs to start getting back to their grounded storylines and start doing this a lot more, doing more espionage, military spy, like stuff like this. I really hope that Kevin Feige is like taking this part of the Marvel world more seriously, the grounded, more street level things.
yeah. Well, and I really appreciate it. I just that the final episode again. It kind of hampers the series a bit. It's a
Yeah,
bit ham fisted in some places. It's got some cool stuff in it, but it's a bit ham fisted in some places. And so I can't get it higher than number four. But I
I
did
just
really
didn't like how the thing that I just didn't like is how they went from this chick bombed a bunch of people to like she's a victim. Oh God.
well. I mean, the thing is that's another thing. The handling of the Flag Smashers was stupid in some ways.
Yes.
It kind of pissed me off, but it's just because they didn't want to handle really tough like issues. I think. Uh,
Yeah.
so, so we had at number three, we had Falcon and Winter Soldier for you. Loki for me. Loki is there. It's not higher because to me, the problem with it being high, not being number two or number one, is because it had some kind of hit or miss, a little bit of slowness and some hit or miss things going on. Where it excelled was doing a bunch of cool things with the multiverse. Like the TVA is awesome. Like the relationship between Mobius and Loki, as Loki sort of he's grappling with himself and his own understanding of himself. I love that. I think Renslayer, she's underutilized, unfortunately. But the whole thing with Sylvie was cool, and then seeing the multiple Lokis. I mean, there's a lot of cool shit going on in this show, and the finale is a bit understated. I mean, it's not pew pew. It really isn't. Yeah.
Let's just be honest. It was, in my opinion, the best Marvel TV show finale. It broke the internet. I've never seen so many people with a Nondato moment after, like, literally I was scrolling through uh Twitter, and people are like, wait, what just happened? Nani?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think without having to do the lasers and everything, just people sitting down and talking, and the universe changing forever as a result of that conversation. I mean, it's good. I like that ending. And so, but I would just wish some of the other aspects of the show were a little bit better. That's why it's number 3 for me. Where is it for you?
Number 2.
Number
I
seven.
put it. No, Loki is number 2 in my opinion, just because I agree that there were parts of the show that were kind of boring, but I have to put it as that number 2 because without the TV show Loki, we wouldn't have gotten the number 1 movie in Phase 4, in my opinion, which is Spider-Man: No Way Home, and it opened up what is going to be an absolute Marvel comic book orgy, if you will, in the future with Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. I mean, that Karen is the reason
Space
we're
Karen.
about to. Space Karen is the reason why we are literally about to get a comic book orgy, because this literally is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it. I can't imagine how big that damn fucking movie production budget's gonna be. Jesus, I think that thing might be in the 500 million, boy. Whew.
Well,
But
yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, I mean, it's just very wide reaching. I mean, let's just be honest. It had a lot of implications, more than probably any one scene has had in any Marvel thing up to then. So, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I have WandaVision as number 2. It's number 2 because for me, it did a lot. It did a lot to sort of it set the tone for the idea that a lot of different things could happen in the MCU that didn't necessarily get followed up on in the first year, because a lot of the rest of Loki is kind of out of the box, but Falcon and Winter Soldier and Hawkeye are very conventional things. Even Miss Marvel to a point, but it kind of showed that, hey, we can do a lot of different things with this TV show, and it was crazy. It's weird. It's got going through all these sitcom things. It's very strange. It's off-putting and so. Like, I remember there was a creep factor to it that's really present. You're just like, what's actually happening here? There's all this stuff going on. The only thing a problem with it is, to me, they build up this cool bad guy, and then they just have a Marvel pew pew ending, and the fact that it ends like that is annoying. But man, the rest of the show is so cool and interesting, and it sets up Multiverse of Madness so well, that I think it's something I could watch again and just be like, yeah, this really works. So that's why it's number 2 for me. And I know it's further down for you, because why?
Oh, WandaVision was further down for me. It's not because I didn't like WandaVision. It's just when it comes to, from what I was liking, WandaVision, it didn't truly start intriguing me until later in the show. And then towards the end, I didn't like the final episode. I did like the parts where the Division started figuring out certain stuff. It's just when it comes to what I had at my top with, you know, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I mean, Moon Knight, Falcon and Winter Soldier, all that stuff. Those are stuff that was like my personal shit. Like I'm into like horror stuff with Moon Knight, and of course, Falcon and Winter Soldier. I love espionage, action, military like movies, sort of like that. So it, those were scratching a personal itch that was like making me like super invested into it. You know what I mean? And that's why, and like I said, the finale of WandaVision kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't good. it,
And then the whole
yeah,
part of they don't know what you sacrificed. Oh Jesus!
yeah, yeah.
Don't.
I love that they got Tiana Paris, they got her Monica Rambeau to be powered up and everything, and they talked about the blip. There's stuff in there that's really good. It's just that
Hmm.
at the end of the day, her reaction to it is bad, and then we see what actually is going on in her head and Multiverse of Madness. So, but I think I still think it's really good. Which leads us to number one. We talked about What If and why
Yeah.
you liked it as number one. So I'm going to talk about why Miss Marvel is my number one Phase 4 TV show. Um, does it have? It has a. We'll talk about the weakness of it. It has a Marvel ending. Let's just be fair. It had a Marvel ending, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a Marvel ending that felt unearned, and it didn't feel like all of the pew pew fighting and everything like that made sense within the story. They built up to it properly. When they had this Marvel ending, it was built up to properly. Everything that was happening in there was set up properly, and also it was in line to me with the fact that it's just a bunch of teenagers kind of dealing with some ridiculous stuff from the government. Um, let's talk about the fact that Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan is charming as shit. Her family is the best. There's all that, not just that the representation is there, it's good and interesting. And I feel like I learned something. There's some history going on in there. It's mysticism. There's all sorts of stuff that's going on. It's calling back to things from like Iron Man 1, you know? It's calling back, we're getting callbacks. And also because, damn it, Kamala Khan is us. She's a huge old superhero fan. And just her outlook on life and how positive, not just positive, she's absolutely happy to have these powers and everything. She's leaning into it. And she's got a great cast of characters around her. Her family's great, her friends are great. The villains suck in this. Let's call it like it is. The villains are not good. But it doesn't really matter because learning about Kamala's family history is so damn interesting, and seeing her family is so interesting, and seeing her kind of glow up. I just wanted more of that. I want a second season of this. It's. I know a show's good if I'm like, where the hell is that second season, and why haven't you announced it? Damn it. And we know why, because she's gonna be in the Marvels, but it hit in every possible way for me, even with the Marvelisms and kind of the shitty bad guys. I still absolutely enjoy the hell out of it. So that's why it's my number one. And I understand it didn't hit you the same way because it's way down on the other end of the list for you. But it was right exactly what I wanted. And I remember I told you at the start of the year, I was like, that's my most anticipated Marvel thing of the whole year. I kept saying that all year.
Yeah.
And it's number one for a reason, because it did exactly what it was supposed to for me. So, we took a bit of time with that, but there's our list. So for LADI's list, his ranking is starting from the top. What If, Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Moon Knight, WandaVision, Werewolf by Night, Guardians Special, Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, and She-Hulk. And for me, it's going to be Miss Marvel, WandaVision, Loki, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Werewolf by Night, What If, the Guardians Holiday Special, Moon Knight, Hawkeye, and She-Hulk. So those are the definitive lists. If there's anybody else that has something different, ignore them because they're wrong. So, so that's it. That's it for the show. But what you guys agree with us? Not agree with us? Let us know. Get down to the comments section, or of course hit us up supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. And do us a favor, get down there, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, all that good stuff helps us with the algorithms so more people see this podcast.